Hello boys and girls, this is Miss Laura. I hope you're doing well. For today's math lesson, we will be looking at division of fraction. Let's look at today's problem and read it together. A container is filled with blueberries. 1/6 of the blueberries is poured equally into 2 bowls. What fraction of the blueberries is in each bowl? If each bowl has 6 ounces of blueberries in it, how many ounces of blueberries were in the full container? If 1/6 of the remaining blueberries is used to make muffins, how many ounces of blueberries are left in the container? So now, the first thing that stands out to me is that this is a multi-step problem. Okay? So that means that I'm not going to solve this problem in one step. I can tell there's 1, 2, 3 steps that I need to take. Okay? There's 6 parts. So now, let's look at this closely. Okay? A container is filled with blueberries. 1/6 of the blueberries is poured equally into 2 bowls. So here's part A. It says what fraction of the blueberries is in each bowl. So the first thing that I need to do is make sure that I use a tape diagram to represent this container. Okay? I'm going to try my best to make sure that this is evenly distributed. I know this is my tape diagram. It may not look equal, but work with me, guys, okay? So here's my half. I'm going to make this half into thirds, and then I'm going to make this half into thirds. Okay, so I should have 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? But we are only worried about this 1/6, right? Because they're saying 1/6 of the blueberries. So I'm going to just label this blueberries, okay? 1/6. So now this 1/6 it says it's poured equally into 2 bowls. So here's the 1/6, and I'm going to draw the 2 bowls. Do you see that? Bowl 1, bowl 2. So now I need to ask myself, if I divided this into 2 parts, I need to divide the entire 6 into halves. Okay? Because I want to know how many do I have in total, so that it could give me what is this one part of the whole. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that means that in this one part here, this is 1/12, this is 1/12, 1/12, and so forth. Okay? So now, just in case I want to check my work and say, well, is that correct? I'm going to say 1/6 divided into 2, right? Into 2 parts, into 2 bowls. Using this algorithm, I know that 1/6 stays the same. I'm going to convert this into a fraction, right? I'm going to change this division into multiplication, and I'm going to flip this fraction. Oops, gave me the answer. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 6 times 2 is 12. Got my same answer, right? 1/12, 1/12. So now I'm going to just write out my answer and say 1/12 of blueberries is in each done with part A. Let's go to part B. This is hard, making sure that I'm able to write where you can see my writing. Okay, so let's go to the second problem. If each bowl has 6 ounces of blueberries in it, how many ounces of blueberries were in the full container? Okay, how many ounces were in the full container? So now we already know, let's just start here. We already know that there's 6 ounces. So each bowl has 6 ounces. And each bowl has 6 ounces. How many ounces? So a full container had how many bowls? So we are going to say 12. So this one was 6 times 12. And I know it's multiplication because it has this word each, right? And if I'm looking at this whole, how many are in there, I would have to say 12 and count as many times, right? So 6 ounces times 12 is going to give me 72 ounces total. Okay? Awesome. Let's get to that next problem. Okay, so this is part C. And do you notice, boys and girls, how I have to use information from the previous problem in order to solve a current problem? I had to use information from the first problem to help me find information, solve this problem here. Okay, let's see if this is the case here. If 1/5 of the remaining blueberries is used, yep, I have to use information from the previous problem to make muffins, how many ounces? This is pounds. Okay, this is pounds, boys and girls, of blueberries are left in the container. Okay, so now it's saying that we have to use 1/5 of the remaining blueberries that are used to make muffins. How many pounds of the blueberries are left in the container? Okay, so now I need to start again with this model, the original model, the 1/6. Remember that? All right, so let's draw a better diagram than my first one. Okay, that looks better. I'm gonna break this up into 6 again. Break this into thirds. Break this into thirds. Okay, now let's label this the blueberries. This was what was used, right? Can we say that this is blueberries? Okay. Now, I know that each part here, right, when we divided this into half, it was 6, right? And we know that there's 6 ounces in each bowl, right? So if I cut this in half, there's 6 here and 6 in each 12, right? But I am now going to put these 2 12s and convert them into 1/6. So now I know that there's 12 ounces and 1/6. So there's 12 here as well, 12 here, and 12 here, 12 ounces. Okay, so that's easy for me to see that there's a total of 72 ounces in the whole container. Okay, boys and girls? But I need to convert this ounces to pounds. Okay, so I know that 16 ounces equals 1 pound, how many 72 pounds, 72 ounces will equal, sorry, 1 pound, how many pounds would it equal to 72? So now I know that when I'm converting measurements, ounces is a smaller unit than pounds. So when you're converting from a smaller to a larger, you have to divide. So I'm going to divide, let me see, okay, move my paper. Okay, there. 16 divided by 72, right? So I know that 16 times 3 is not close enough. I'm going to do 16 times 4, which will give me 64 with a remainder 8. Okay? Now, if I know this is my whole, I'm not going to leave it as a remainder. Okay? So I know that this 8 now becomes my numerator, and my whole was 16. Okay? So now I have 4 pounds and 8/16. But I know that I can simplify, rename this fraction by dividing both the numerator and the denominator by 8. And renaming it to 4 1/2. Okay? So now I know that there were 4.5 pounds in the whole container. Right? But that's not what the problem is asking me. It's how much was left. But remember how this was already used. So I now need to figure out how much is 12 ounces of 16 ounces, right? Because I need to subtract what was used from this whole. So I can say 12 ounces out of 16 ounces, right? And I'm thinking to myself, well, I know I can simplify this fraction, right? If I were to simplify, I know that 12 and 16 have a common factor, which is 4. So now 12 divided by 4 is going to give me 3. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So now I know that this 12 ounces is equal to 3/4 of a, let's say, 3/4, okay, of a pound. God, my brain is on overload, okay? So 12 ounces of a pound is 3/4, okay? If I needed to convert that into pounds. So now that I have that, I can say, well, 4 1/2, which is the total, subtracted what was used, right? Whole used. This is going to tell me how much was left, right? How much is this amount here? Because I don't know what is this amount. How much is here, right? So now I quickly noticed that I have different denominators, and when we subtract fractions, we have to have the same denominator. So I'm going to convert this half, this fraction, into fourths. So I'm going to multiply by 2 over 2. So now I'm going to keep my 4. 1 times 2 is 2. And then 2 times 2 is 4. Okay. Have the same denominators. Now I can add, subtract, sorry. Whoa, 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 whoa. Can I take 3 from 2? Absolutely not. So now I have to continue renaming this fraction. So I'm going to take 1 from this 4, and I'm going to make it 3 wholes and 4 fourths. Okay. I'm going to add these two here, which is 4 plus 2 is 6, 4. And now my new whole number is 3. So now this becomes 3. This here becomes 3 and 6, 4. Let me fix my 6. Minus 3 fourths. Okay? So 6 minus 3 is 3. 4 minus 4 stays as 4 because we do not subtract our denominators, okay? Just bring that 4 across, and there's no whole numbers to subtract, so that becomes 3, okay? So now I know how much this here, this piece for the muffins is. This is 3 3/4 pounds. Okay, am I done yet? No. Do you see how many steps I had to take in order to solve this one problem? Okay, I'm not done because now it's saying how much is left. This is just how much is this piece, this amount is. So now I need to subtract 3 3/4 minus the 3/4 that we used, right? This is how much was used, right? So take away 3, that's 0. So the total amount is just 3. So it's there are 3 pounds left in the container. Oh boy. Okay. Oh, there's all my work, boys and girls. Okay. Make sure you are labeling your work like I have. Oh, that was a lot of work. All right, so we left some problems there for you to do. Make sure you complete them. Tomorrow we will go over the rest of the problems.